George O'Dowd, Boy George, is the centerpiece of the band. He wears heavy makeup and seems to blur the line between male and female. The fans love his androgynous appearance. Today it's mass adoration, but when I spoke with him in Montreal, he said things hadn't always been that way.
Well, in a way, it's important because you feel that, you know, when we started, there were a lot of people who said we'd never make it, and there were a lot of people in England particularly who had egg on their faces. We didn't really have that trouble with America at all, Canada or America. But in England, there were a lot of people who said it wouldn't work. And now, the way I look, if you look at the English charts now, every single band, I mean, every single record company is trying to recreate a Boy George, which is pathetic because most people think that the way to succeed is to be outrageous. But I think the most important thing is that you've got to have a personality. And those people will never be as successful as Culture Club are because they haven't, number one, got the affection. And they don't work as hard as we do. They just kind of think things are going to just happen for them.
You write a lot about relationships. Are you a lonely person?
I'm not a lonely person, but I think that I write about people, I write about the politics of people, things that affect me every day. You know, there are certain songs which I write which aren't about love. But when you sing about anything to do with people, love always comes into it ultimately because, you know, everybody loves other people and everybody needs other people. So people, apart from the materialistic things which a lot of people value, people are the most important thing anyway. You know, and I think everybody wants to be needed and loved, and so that's what I sing about. But also, I mean, I'm very cynical in the way that I write. If you listen to our songs properly, if you listen to them carefully and read the words, they can apply to almost anything, you know. I mean, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me can apply to somebody stealing your car, or, you know, the death of your goldfish. I mean, obviously, people apply different things to each song. But, I mean, we don't just write songs to, you know, to have hits. We do, I mean, I personally, because I'm a lyricist and sort of modern-day poet in a sense, I write all my words from experiences and things that happen to me.
You do take it very seriously, then?
Very, completely. I think that there's too many, I mean, throughout the history of rock and roll, there's been so many people that you can just sit and laugh at. I don't want to be another one of those people. I mean, I don't care if people look at me and laugh at the way I dress. I couldn't give a damn. It never has bothered me and it never will. You know, I mean, years and years ago, before I aspired to being a pop star, I dressed up. So, number one...
You were known as Mad George then, not Boy George.
I don't know, I think I'm still known as Mad George, but to some people. But I think, not Mad George, I think people, you know, I think most eccentric people don't dress up. I think, you know, eccentricity is something that can be in anybody. I mean, you know, you go into a New York deli, there are mad women with kind of beehive hairstyles and Dr. Spock eyebrows, you know, Star Trek special. And you wouldn't really look at them and say, oh, they're weird, but they are weird. I mean, there are a lot of people that you see around, especially in America, who are just naturally eccentric. I just happen to like dressing up. I am eccentric anyway. If I was sitting here naked, which wouldn't be a very pleasant sight anyway, I'd still probably say the same things I'm saying now, you know.
It would certainly be a different image, though, wouldn't it?
That would be no image.
Well, androgyny is very important these days in the rock circles, and I would say you're probably the most visible of a number of people who have an androgynous kind of image.
Well,
why do you think that's so popular? Why do you think people like that so much?
We see, I think that the age of the sexy rock star is very much dead. I think also pop music is taking over from film stars. You know, you see now Brooke Shields clutching onto Michael Jackson. Mm-hmm. It's very much a thing where older stars, you know, they're prepared to have the photograph taken with Boy George or Michael Jackson. You know, there's a new generation of younger people now, and they want something new. They don't want to listen to people. They don't particularly want to see people driving around in limousines, and they don't... I think people like Boy George, Annie Lennox, and there also are American artists coming up now who are making it impossible for rock stars to be bland. You know, and I like to think that I make it very difficult for somebody to come on and say, yeah, no, give one-word answers. I mean, I think that, you know, you've got to make it difficult, and therefore you stick out. You know, you make yourself more special than those people.
Are you afraid at all that you might be a flash in the pan?
Bit late now, isn't it?
Really?
I think I think maybe with Do You Really Want to Hurt Me, a lot of people said, oh, you know, this is a particularly good song. And we had the feeling that we'd never surpass that song. But with Karma Chameleon, which was completely different, we really did surpass it. I mean, maybe, yeah, it was #1. I mean, Do You Really Want to Hurt Me wasn't #1 in America. But
I guess what I really mean is, do you care if they become classics, if they're forgotten in 20 years or 5 years?
I don't think they'll be forgotten. I think a song like Karma Chameleon is always considered trivial by critics, but then most rock critics, you know, they're so wrapped up in their own kind of literature and their own kind of bigoted opinions.
You have admitted that you are prone to become violent at times.
Mm-hmm. every so often the press have a kind of backlash against you, which is kind of good for you in a way, because you know, you become a bit goody-goody. So I think it's quite nice, because I think that you've got to be mean to keep people keen. And I think it's quite nice that every so often there's people like that. I think people like to feel like, you know, at the airport a lot of the time I swear. I mean, there was one time there was a big thing in the papers that I swore at an official because he was really rude to me, and they came out with all this garbage like, you know, you should be treated like everybody else. And my reply to that was, if I'm to be treated like everybody else, then why is it all over the papers? You know, if Mrs. Smith told you to, you wouldn't do it. But it's basically because I think I mean, I don't just do it for no reason, but every so often, you know, you can't help but fight back.
How about Clone Wars? What's this all about?
This is my, this is a pound note, in case you don't know. I've also had these, I mean, I've also got costumes with dollars on. I've got these fantastic necklaces with huge dollars with all glitter on. And basically what it is that in England now, as I said to you earlier, it's become a record company formula to look like Culture Club, to dress like Boy George, when in actual fact most of the people turned us down. In fact, every record company in England turned us down apart from Virgin, so, and Epic in America, so good on you. And basically the statement we're making with the clothes is that there are people who do it because they want to do it. And I think that Culture Club, an example of that. I mean, what we do is very honest. We do it from instinct. We do it because we want to.
What about the fans who dress like you?
Well, it's not directed at them at all, because really those people they're our people. I mean, I regard my relationship with my fans as very personal. I think, I mean, a lot of people, a lot of journalists say to me, you know, do you think people's parents are worried? Yesterday at the airport, there were women with their kids of 3. You know, people aren't worried about me, because I'm very upfront, I'm very honest. I don't, you know, I don't make, I mean, if I make a statement, I can back it up. Anything you ask me, you know, whatever it is, you know, whether you consider it to be sexually deviant or psychologically deviant, I can give you a good explanation for that.
I understand that one of your favorite bios is Tallulah Bankhead, and you felt you had a lot in common with her. And I just can't see it, because you're almost a walking advertisement for the moral majority. No drinking, no smoking, no promiscuity. Now, Tallulah drank, she did drugs, she liked to do cartwheels and dresses with no underwear, shock people. Well, what's the connection here? I don't get it.
Well, you see, I think Joan Rivers is Tallulah Bankhead reincarnated. And I don't believe that Tallulah Bankhead was as nasty as she was made out. I think that she gave people you know, she gave back what people deserved. Like journalists. I mean, there are so many journalists who deserve a real punch in the face, you know.
I hope I'm not one of them.
No, no. I mean, I'm talking about these people that gossip. I mean, the worst people in the world are gossip columnists. I mean, it's like, who would want to be a policeman, and who would want to be a gossip columnist? You have to be a certain mentality to want to do that kind of job, you know. But I think gossip, I mean, I think that's the worst job in the world. Well, in England, they printed the whole front page of the Sun newspaper, printed a picture of me with no makeup on. Hideous. I mean, I look like a mutant. It was just one of those pictures. You know when someone takes a picture of it, kind of first thing in the morning, and you just never want to see it again? It was one of those kind of pictures. It looked like I was being rehabilitated from some kind of terrible accident. And I got so many letters saying how wonderful I looked, you know.
There you go. People get back, perhaps, what they deserve.
If people are with you, they're with you no matter what, you know.
Take away all of the music, and what's left with you? Who's George O'Dowd without the music?
Well, I think that I pride myself in the sense that I think I can go on and do other things. I mean, I'm already working outside of Culture Club anyway. I've written some stuff for films. I think I will survive.